Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Brewin on Broad Street. I'm Steve Snyder, entrepreneur in residence here at Gesmer Updegrove, and it's a treat for me to be here this afternoon or this morning with Rick Clemon, who is a good friend and fractional CFO. Here at Gesmer, we're a full-service law firm for the life cycle of tech companies. We not only provide quality legal services, but our focus is on business success as well. And much of that success comes from other service providers in our ecosystem who provide enormous value, and Rick is certainly one of those service providers.
Thank you.
So, tell us about you and your background.
So, by way of background, I come out of your traditional accounting upbringing. I graduated with a degree in accounting from Radford University down in Virginia. Wanted nothing to do with public accounting when I first came out of school. Quickly realized that if I wanted to maximize my potential and accelerate my career growth, I needed to go into public accounting. What I learned in being with the Big Four audit firms is how to be a great compliance-focused person, adding a lot of value in the compliance side of things from an audit perspective. I was very fortunate to get recruited away from Ernst & Young to work with a technical accounting consulting practice that I will honestly say I learned more in my few years with a consulting practice than I did in 7 years in public. What you don't learn in public accounting is how to be a strategic business partner. I learned that when I moved over to industry and worked my way from number 3 in global finance for a publicly traded aerospace and defense company to being the CFO of a few venture capital and private equity sponsored companies. And learning how to add value to an organization, being a strategic business partner to the leadership team, to the investors, to our customers, as well as to our vendors. You're not going to get that out of the public side of things. So learning how to migrate your career into that way of thinking is how I now add value to my clients today.
And that's the perfect segue to my next question, because while I think of you as a fractional CFO, you to me are also, more importantly, that trusted business advisor to entrepreneurs. Why is that so important for our audience?
There are a lot of people out there who do what I do. Some of them come from the street side of things where all they know is the investment community. They don't know the debits and credits. They've got a chief accounting officer or a really strong controller. Some of them only know the debits and credits and aren't all that good at the investor or strategic partnership side of things. Then you've got the blend, which is what I am today, right? What companies need is a business partner on top of accounting and finance that allows their knowledge of and their experience within the accounting world to inform how they're going to look at transactions, but not direct how they're going to govern their decision making. So many people get stuck in the nuances of the accounting rules, and they make business decisions based on the accounting rule. Being a business partner to the organization is looking at what's important to the business. What strategic growth are we going to get from executing on this contract or this arrangement with a vendor or with a customer, or even just a strategic business partner, over and above the nuances of how it's going to manifest through the company's financial statements. Seeing that, focusing on that, and how that's going to implicate the company's long-term growth strategy is far more valuable to the leadership team, to the company at large and its investors, than strictly focusing on the compliance focuses of accounting.
And it's not just about accounting, it's not just about legal, it's not just about banking or insurance, or it's a holistic view which focuses on the success of the company.
Yes, 100%. What is best for the business? How can we achieve our goals? within the confines of the governing boundaries, but how can we achieve our goals? And that's what the decision making is founded upon.
And I know you have a long history of working with companies who have an ultimate goal of selling,
Yes.
of being acquired.
Yes.
And so, what advice do you have for those entrepreneurs, for those leaders who are starting to think about that mid-range goal of being acquired? What advice do you have for them as they start to plan for that?
That's a loaded question. The reality here is strengthen the business. We need to take a look at not just our revenues, because those are going to be a key focus. What are your revenues? Repeat customers. You've got recurring revenues in the SaaS world, which everyone is so focused on today, but you also have reoccurring revenues on the transactional side of things from customers buying from you again and again and again. Being able to demonstrate how your relationships with those key customers are growing over time and what the full potential of those could be. Knowing your TAM, knowing where the green field is for you and your company, should you be able to execute on a growth strategy with the appropriate funding, with a strategic private equity, venture capital, strategic acquirer, and being able to articulate that story, that growth story, what you can realize on your own and what you could realize with partners. That's primary part one. The secondary part of looking at an exit is your business right-sized? Is your cost stack appropriate for where you are in the market? Said differently, you could have tremendously high year-over-year revenue growth, but your margins, your profit margin on that business is below market. A buyer's going to look at that and say, I need to revisit your pricing strategy. And while you have repeat customers or recurring revenues today, with a revised pricing strategy, is that going to continue, or are our customers going to go looking elsewhere when we redo our pricing strategy? Is your cost stack optimized? Are you maximizing your efficiencies in your buying at scale? And then looking at operating expenses. I say it all the time, you don't need a Porsche to get to work when a Buick will get you there. If you're an early stage growth company, you don't need every single bell and whistle. You need the feature functionality that gets the job done, optimizing profits.
And there are steps that leadership can take 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months
Yes.
ahead of time to increase the value that an acquirer will see.
100%. The earlier you start this process, the more value you get for it upon an exit. If you change your pricing strategy and improve your margins 3 months before a transaction, you will not get full credit for that upon an exit. You need to have at least a 12-month history of it being at the new pricing and margin strategy to get full credit for it. It's got to be in the trailing 12 months, the TTM. Anything you do right before an exit, a buyer is going to discount. If you can implement it 18 to 24 months in advance and see how your customers and your business partners have taken to it, it de-risks the deal.
So I know you work with quite a number of rapidly growing tech companies.
Mm-hmm.
What one piece of advice would you give entrepreneurs?
Be willing to listen to those you surround yourself with, but surround yourself with really good people. Where I find there can be resistance is they have a vision and they really are passionate about their vision. There's a lot of experience out there to leverage. At the same token, the flip side of this coin is don't get distracted. Know what you can do and execute on what you can do. There's going to be a lot of really pretty bells and whistles that could take you away from what you're defining as your true north. They're distractions. And every time I look at a company looking to raise money, the biggest obstacle that I hear from the investment community is you're distracted. Same thing holds true in M&A. If you're investing time and effort away from where you can really grow your business, it's going to cost you.
It's great advice. So let's completely shift away from tech companies and business. Tell me about your hobbies.
So I have 3 children, and they keep me quite busy. My oldest is going into her sophomore year of college, and then I have a senior in high school and a son going into 7th grade. That's part one. So household, family, wife, kids, dogs. But on a personal level, I've been playing golf since I was 7 years old. So if I can get out and play golf, I will take that opportunity. I used to be really good. Now I'm average like everybody else. I just don't play enough to be consistent. I am an avid backyard barbecue guy. And I'm not talking about the Traeger or the pellet grills and the green eggs that people have. I've got a Texas iron stick burner smoker in the backyard. Thing weighs
That's serious.
It weighs 1,100 pounds. It's not moving. My wife's already told me when we sell the house, it's staying. So backyard barbecue, brisket, ribs, chickens. And then my third hobby, which I am absolutely passionate about, is photography. I love going out and photographing wildlife and landscapes. What I do in the world, if you think about golf, barbecue, and photography, they're very much so individual areas where I can not think about other things. I do a lot of business on the golf course too, but when I'm cooking or when I'm out taking photographs, it just allows me to be in the moment, be present in front of a mountain or a stream or a moose or a bear or whatever it happens to be. And there's just something very grounding about that.
That's special. That's your time.
That is my time.
I'm going to come by for barbecue.
Please do.
Well, thank you for joining me today. This has been a treat.
My pleasure.
And thank you for joining us for another episode of Brewin on Broad Street.